Rich Kids by Javad Alipour was obviously a work in progress. So, and that means it's always evolving. So, you know, the night that we saw it, I really felt it was a beautifully put together show. I loved the way in which the technology, and in this case they were using Instagram in particular, the scroll forward, scroll back, which they also then used in terms of time, scroll forward 100,000 years or backwards 100,000 years, and looking at that relative to the present situation that we're in right now. And that's something that I really enjoyed.
It was a genius, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
The swipe, swipe, swipe. Oh, I'm back in the Middle Ages.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, or swipe forward. I mean, there was that whole moment of kind of like swiping through your diary. Just keep going, and now I'm going to tell you to stop. Where mine happened to stop was 2023, you know, which I felt was quite funny, given that we've got Leeds 2023 as a festival, and Cauliflorari coming into that. So I thought it was quite poignant to see that. You know, I'm sure plenty of others went way into the future, but it was nice to have that understanding that time can, you know, what we see as time can shift and change and is malleable, and that's what I enjoyed about it.
Yeah, and I love about his writing that it's so researched.
Yeah.
And it's always telling me about things I don't know.
Absolutely.
And this one was exactly the same. It's all new stuff to me.
Yeah.
I mean, the subject, obviously, like, I have an idea of what rich kids are, but, like, actually what happened in the show blew my mind.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's so... And the way it connected into the way the whole of history is, really.
I think the whole idea of wealth and how that is viewed in other countries was something that I thought was really interesting.
Very.
You know, the idea of these rich kids in Tehran doing whatever it is they're doing and having their best life. Very different, I think, in the ways in which we think of the wealthy here in this country, which, you know, perhaps is a bit stereotyped, and maybe it always is and always has been, do you know what I mean? But just the ideas of people just, you know, drinking Bollinger and taking lots of drugs and having pool parties, with all those kinds of things where you just think, oh wow, okay, that's a different way of looking.
Too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then also looking at the Instagram of rich kids in Tehran, which is them basically, these people who are basically saying, this is what I'm doing today. It's kind of, I've never really thought that would be a thing, but somehow it kind of is. And you can have rich kids in London or rich kids in,
rich kids of Instagram.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? It was just, it was a real trip around the world as well as throughout time, and that's something that I really enjoyed. I think the kind of the homing in on one particular person, Hussein, and his father, and that particular timeline was interesting. Just in relation to what was happening now, what's happened previously before even Hussein had been born, and how that all kind of totally affects the present, which I thought was really interesting. I felt that Javad and the other performer did really well. I think it was quite a lot that they were having to do.
So much, yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot that they were having to do, and I think what with the technology, which I think mostly worked on the night that we went.
Yeah.
I think technology, or the use of technology, can be quite tricky.
Yeah.
So with Javad's first piece that I saw in Edinburgh in 2017, which was The Brothers Are But Believers, there was that whole kind of sense of the ways in which technology, and in particular things like Instagram or WhatsApp, are being used in ways that I just literally did not even think of. You know what I mean? So I think with those technologies, I think we're, in my mind anyway, I'm thinking about it as just a communication device, but actually it's far more than that. That's what I felt.
Brilliant. So what did you think of Life Is No Laughing Matter?
By Demi Nandra.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I did. I feel it is really important to have a different voice talking about depression.
Yeah.
And how that is viewed culturally. Yeah. I think that's quite a big thing. For me, I thought it was a really good, strong piece. I think it will probably do really well at Edinburgh. I think both pieces will do really well, actually.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's visually strong, isn't it?
It is. You had the kind of, Demi having that great big kind of massive ball-like structure, which then she was able to
Was
kind
it like
of...
a beanbag?
Like, it looked like a beanbag. Do you know what I mean? With
Yeah,
a hole in the middle that she
beanbag,
kind of
yeah.
had, kind of wrapped around her as she was trying to talk about the ways in which depression hits. You know, it's kind of like, yeah, you know, what does that mean?
And the ridiculous things that doctors ask you to do, which
Yeah.
are sort of generalised rather than specific.
Yeah, I mean, you know, as somebody who is actually going through some kind of form of therapy at the moment, I thought it was really interesting when she was talking about the form that you always had to fill out. You know, on a scale of 1 to 10, you know, how did you feel this week? And it feels really arbitrary, because actually, how many of us really kind of note how we're feeling from minute to minute? It is part of the ways in which therapy works in this country. Do I think that works? I'm not entirely sure it does.
Yeah.
You know, because
and
actually,
she raised that, didn't she?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And she was right to raise it, because it does feel a little bit daft, you know. And even the ways in which you kind of get told, you know, you got to have things around you to help you feel like you're part of the world, you know. So she goes off and gets a dog because she thinks that the dog is going to give her the happiness that she looks for, and actually the dog doesn't, because the dog simply takes on her depression.
So those two will do really, really well. I'm just thinking we're running out of time, but just a quick bit. What did you think of About a Boy?
Isma Almas, I thought it was absolutely brilliant. I think it's wonderful to see a female comedian. I mean, I'm not really into comedians generally as a rule. I think partly because my interaction with comedians have been very much like they've been male. They've been very much driven by their own ego, and you know, they kind of walk around and make it really kind of hard for the audience at times, because they kind of take the mick. But I felt that Isma did some beautiful storytelling about adoption and what that meant for her, what that meant for her and her partner. You know, she talked about her sexuality. She talked about her relationship with her family and what that means. And I thought I really, really, really liked this show. I really did.
I loved it too. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.